All right, let's jump right in. If you're working in manufacturing or supply chain, especially if you're early in your career in South Asia, this one's for you. We're about to unpack a really powerful framework that's designed to help you fast-track your career and make your leadership potential, well, impossible to ignore. Let's just let that sink in for a second. It's a tough one to hear, right? I mean, you're putting in the work, you're hitting your targets, but somehow your career just stalls. Why does that happen? Well, it's often because the signal you're sending out with your communication doesn't really match the quality of your work. Today, we're going to learn how to fix that signal.
Think of it this way. Every single email you send, every update you give in a meeting, it's all passing through this invisible filter in your leaders' minds. They aren't just looking at the data. They're actually evaluating your thought process, your clarity. See, doing a good job gets you invited to the meeting, but communicating with real precision, that's what convinces them you should be running it.
And that leads us to this really key idea, the leadership cognition signal. It sounds a little academic, I know, but it's actually a pretty simple truth. Every time you communicate, you're broadcasting how you think. Are you someone who stays calm under pressure? Can you connect the dots and see the bigger picture? In a super fast-paced world like supply chain, leaders are always looking for those signals. It's basically a live audition for your next promotion.
Now, for a second, let's try to put ourselves in our manager's shoes. Just look at this list. This is what their day-to-day looks like. They're juggling crazy deadlines, constant risks, navigating all this complexity. Their brain is already maxed out. So the big question is, when you communicate with them, are you just adding to that mental load, or are you actually making their job easier? The answer to that question can literally define your career.
And this is where things get really serious. You see, when you're vague or reactive, it's not just a little annoying. To a leader, it looks like a giant red flag. It signals risk. It kind of suggests that maybe you don't have things under control. And that perception, fair or not, is the secret thing that can slam the brakes on your career no matter how good your performance actually is.
So, this all boils down to a super critical distinction that can shape your whole career. It's the difference between being an operator and being a decision enabler. In other words, are you just pointing out problems, or are you actually helping the organization move forward?
And here you can see the two styles side by side. On the left, you've got the operator. They basically find a problem, this big tangled mess, and just drop it on their manager's desk. But on the right, you have the decision enabler. They see the exact same problem, but what do? They untangle it, they frame a solution, and they point a clear path forward. Now, which one of those two people do you think gets promoted?
And this right here is why so many talented, hardworking people get stuck. They are fantastic operators, but they keep communicating like one. But here's the secret. The company already has plenty of people who can find problems. What it's really desperate for are people who can solve them. Your communication style is like a constant broadcast, telling everyone exactly which camp you're in.
Okay, so the big question is, how do we make that shift? How do we go from being an operator to becoming a decision enabler? Well, that's exactly where the strategic 7C architecture comes in. Think of this as our practical toolkit for building that leadership signal into everything you say and write.
Now, at first glance, this might look like the same 7 C's of communication you learned about in business school, but look closely at that column on the right. This is a complete reframe. So take clarity, for instance. It's not just about using simple words anymore. It's about strategic signal framing, which means you start with why this matters to the business. Conciseness isn't just about being short, it's cognitive load management. You're actively making it easier for your boss to process information. Each one of these is a strategic shift. This table is basically your cheat sheet for communicating like a true leader. And that's really the magic of this whole framework. It takes a simple status update and turns it into a tool of influence. It becomes a bridge that connects your idea directly to a decision. You stop being just a reporter of facts, and you become someone who actually moves the organization forward.
All right, enough with the theory, right? Let's make this super practical. We're going to look at a scenario that anyone who's ever worked in manufacturing or supply chain will know all too well, and we'll see how these two different styles play out.
Okay, does this sound familiar? Factory facing delays. Shipment might shift. This message is a manager's worst nightmare. It's like a little hand grenade of anxiety. Now your boss has to stop everything they're doing and start asking a million questions. Which factory? How bad is it? What are we doing about it? You've just created more work and way more stress.
But now look at this. It's the same problem, but a totally different message. This is the decision enabler. We know the specific problem, the exact risk, a proposed solution, and a crystal clear timeline for a decision.
See? This doesn't cause anxiety, it creates confidence. It shows you're not just screaming fire, you're already holding the fire extinguisher.
So, you end up with two completely different outcomes from the very same event. The operator's message creates a tangled mess in their leader's mind. The enabler's message creates a clear path forward. One signals a problem that needs a manager. The other signals a manager who is already handling a problem. That's the difference that gets you promoted. It's that simple.
So let's wrap all of this up. What does this model really mean for you, right now in your job? More importantly, what signal are you sending with every single message?
So here's the biggest takeaway. Mastering communication isn't about using big, fancy words. It's about aligning your thinking with the way the organization thinks. It's your job to present your ideas so clearly and logically that the only thing left for your leaders to do is say, yes.
I mean, this quote just absolutely nails it, doesn't it? The true skill of a leader isn't giving a great speech. It's the ability to walk into a chaotic, messy situation and create clarity and a path forward. And that is exactly what this framework helps you do. So from this moment on, before you hit send on that email, before you walk into that meeting, just ask yourself this one simple question. Is what I'm about to say going to reduce uncertainty for everyone else, or is it going to increase their effort to understand me? Every single communication is a choice. You're either building your reputation as an operator or as a leader. The choice is yours.